see that he has a microphone. Oh, maybe I need to unmute him. I don't know. Bob, you there?
That has some kind of online mute for me. Oh, so that's good. I missed everything.
Bob?
Well, it's an eight, I guess people. Well, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Oh.
Hey, Chris? Chris? Hello?
No, we have an answer machine that I don't understand.
This is very confusing. I'm sorry.
Hey, Chris? Hello?
You looking for Chris Sullivan on this one?
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Bob Life.
Bob, this is Chris Hulk. I can hear you.
Okay, Chris should. I had to dial in. I'm not sure why the sound from my computer is not working, so.
I'm not sure if anyone else can hear you, though.
I can hear him. Dave's
Bob?
Hey, Bob.
I can hear him.
No, he's all set.
Yeah.
I know Washington DC.
All right, we ready to start?
Yep.
All right, might as well call the meeting to order at 7:35. Let's see how this goes. First item on the agenda this evening is 53 Ansonia Road, application for additional existing garage. Is there anyone here on that application, or?
Bob, this was one that you said that I could be delegated because it's not directly in a wetlands. It's a
Right.
small foundation addition to a garage. So I am issuing that one.
There's even a sheet between the garage addition and the wetland that's there. So you're all set on that, Chris?
Yes, I am. There, it's in an existing grassed area.
Okay, all right then. Just so everybody knows, Chris and I were concerned about the fact we kept postponing meetings and some people needed action on things. So I told her to the extent that she could, as authorized agent, proceed. She might as well on some of these simple things that were being held up because of the delays in the meeting. So.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda then is 100 Center Road, the application for widening the south side of the driveway entrance off Beecher to Fitzgerald property.
I'm not seeing that Warren is on board. I did speak to him. He was supposed to be here. So if you want to push past that, then if he shows up, we can go back to him.
Okay, that then. Next item on the agenda is the Amity Field application. I'm recused on that, so I'll let Jack take the lead.
Okay. Is there somebody here on that that can explain what the new item is? And the specificity on this is not for the athletic field, not for the football field. That was determined that we did not need a wetlands permit. Unless something has changed, I'd like to leave it that way. If a resident has an issue with the materials that are being used, I think that should be referred to the Board of Selectmen or to the Education Board.
Sure. This is Jim Seisa from Amity. I'm the facilities director. We have a couple of our engineers on, and so I'll refer to Colleen to go over the area that is in question, and which is the pole vault area west of the existing stadium bleachers.
Okay, that would be great if you could explain that and tell us what you're planning to do and what the potential impact on the wetlands area is that you're looking at.
Sure. So this is actually Chris Hulk. I'm going to jump in and take this one. I do work with Colleen, but this is Chris Hulk. I'm a licensed professional engineer here in the state of Connecticut. I work with Mylona McBrome, been an engineer there for about 15 years now, and I'm going to represent the school board on this application. So I'm going to go ahead and make an attempt to share my screen here.
Sir, I missed the question. Was that, could we hear or?
So can everyone see my screen now?
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
I can.
yes, I can see it.
Awesome. So once again, my name is Chris Hulk. I'm a licensed professional engineer here in the state of Connecticut. So the project we're going to be here for is the installation of a new pole vault area at the existing track and field facilities at Amity High School. This work's going to be done as part of a larger maintenance project for the track and the field, but this pole vault installation will actually be the only new work within the 100-foot upland view area. Yeah, the remainder of the work is outside the upland view area, or is really not a change of use. If you happen to be looking at my screen here, you can see the green dashed line is the 100-foot upland review area, and the cyan line in the two locations here at the bottom of the screen and the top right of the screen are wetland areas, and the left side, the upper left-hand corner here, this is an intermittent water course, and that has a portion of the 100-foot upland review area as well. So as you can see, the majority of the track is outside of the 100-foot upland review area, so the only actual new work is actually going to be at the pole vault area.
What
So
specifically is the pole vault area,
so
which I'm sure you're going to get to, but
yeah, I'll touch on that in just a second. Let me run through the rest of it here to introduce the rest of the site, just so everyone has it here. But so the track and field is located on the far eastern side of the school site. The track is bordered on the west side by the concession building. That's over near the intermittent water course that I was just talking about. On the south side and on the east side by forested areas. Both of those have wetlands in them that were flagged by our in-house certified soil scientists. Additionally, on the north side, there is the access road that goes out to I believe it's North Peace Road. The actual address of the site is 25 Newtown Road, about a quarter mile or so north of Center Road. I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. It's basically right across the street from Town Hall over there. So the actual location of the pole vault area, the proposed location will be in the southwestern corner of the site, basically the bottom left-hand corner of the page here. It'll be located directly to the west of the existing bleachers that are located kind of here. If you can see my cursor, if you've been to the site at all, it's on the south side of the site. Let's see here. Okay. So the planning for this project's been in the works for the last couple of years. A few months ago, at this point, I guess it's more like 6 or 7 months ago, the towns that encompass the school's body, Woodbridge, Bethany, Orange, they had a townwide referendum that is allowing this project to basically move forward. So the main need for this project arises from that the existing track and field facilities are on the older side. I believe they're in the 20 to 30 year range. They have a very outdated track. The field itself is usually very wet, and then once football players get on it, it gets kind of deteriorated very rapidly and really limits the ability of the site to be used. So the other part that's pretty crucial for this facility to operate the way that the school needs it to is to maximize the amount of available area actually within the track itself. So that's why we will be taking the pole vault areas that are now currently located over here on the eastern side of the track or eastern side of the field and moving them down over here to the southwestern portion. On here, you'll see that there are 2 pole vaults proposed here. It's possible we might only do 1, but in this instance, the track coach was looking to get kind of the ability to jump in both directions. As wind is going one way or the other, it I guess affects the jumpers. The reason that we are kind of putting it here and not putting it anywhere else on site is because to the east is all wooded. To this, anywhere else to the south we can't go because that's off the property and wetlands. To the west is already a field and has the concession building, and then to the north is too steep and there's drive aisle there. So this is really the best location that we can put this. If you see in the pictures here I've shown of the existing site, it's very flat. It's really the best location on the site to be able to be used for this. Mainly because the existing site right now with this grass area that's here really doesn't get utilized for anything of any actual importance. So there's minimal areas within the fenced line that can be used for the pole vault area. So we felt like this was the best location. This grassed area has been developed here for the last, I believe it's 30 years or so. Same timeline as the track and field. It's bordered by a 6-foot high chain link fence that basically cuts off right around where the wetlands start. If you're looking at the bottom of the page here, you can see that this gray line that is shown is actually the limit of the fence line, and then a few feet beyond that is the upland, or excuse me, the wetland line. Just to reiterate for you guys, the cyan line is the actual wetland line. The dark gray, or the gray line that's behind it, is actually just a line to kind of reinforce which side the wetland area is actually on. So the way that this site is actually going to be developed is pretty simple, to be honest with you. It's basically just going to be a small amount of excavation work for the topsoil that's currently there. We did a test pit in the general location of where these are going to go, and we found that there's about 6 inches of topsoil. This material is going to be stockpiled on the existing field outside of the 100-foot upland review area. Prior to any of the excavation work, we will be installing sediment erosion controls. Those are going to include both silt fence and a hay bale reinforcement. Then the work that is included in installing these is basically just the forming and pouring of concrete. This concrete is going to be a tension concrete, which is going to allow for these pole vault areas to last well over 30 years. The nice part about doing concrete as opposed to, say, asphalt is that the concrete isn't going to break down or chip off or have a lot of the materials that asphalt would. So, we feel that doing a concrete pad in this location is preferable to doing a paved surface. It fits very well in the site. As you can see from the pictures, it's very flat over in that area, so we really don't have to change the grade substantially. It pretty much just fits in. So as far as the work options are going to go, it's going to be install the sediment erosion controls, excavate out the areas for the pole vault runways and the landing area, and then install the concrete. And at that point, the site is basically stabilized. And with that in mind, the doing with concrete, installing the sediment erosion controls, and having the area be very flat, we really don't think that there's going to be a substantial impact to the surrounding areas. So this is honestly really the only location that this is going to work on the site. But at this point, I'd like to open it up to any questions anybody might have.
I do have a question. What part of it exactly is concrete? Is it the runway in the pit, or is that kind of like a sub area and then it's filled? I mean, they're not pole vaulting on concrete, right?
So the concrete gets a track surfacing on top of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I actually said that, but yeah. So the pole vault areas is going to be a concrete pad that's about 5 inches thick with about a 1/2 inch of the track surfacing on top of it. So basically the same system that you would get for the actual track, but instead it will be for these 2 pole vault areas.
And then how about the landing area when they go over? I mean, they're not landing on that, are they?
They bring out pads to land on.
So there'll be pads on top of that when it's being used.
Yep. I believe right now the storage container that's shown in the upper right-hand corner of the site here, I believe that's where they keep all the pole vault and high jump and all those pits that all those pads that they use for track and field.
Okay, and that existing area is grass today, right?
Yep, it's grass today. It's been maintained as grass for roughly the last 30 plus years.
And so it will, the area outside of the lane and the landing area will continue to be grass?
Yes, it will.
Is there gonna, will there be any, it's hard to tell how much, because it's an impervious surface that you're putting in there. Is there any potential runoff from that that's gonna be different than what it is today? Or is there enough grass and dirt area to absorb whatever comes off of the impervious parts?
A little bit of both. So one, the existing drainage patterns are more or less going to stay the same. There is enough grassed area to still allow for water to infiltrate to the ability that it can. And then what we're actually going to be doing is, as part of the engineering analysis that we're working through planning and zoning, is the detention system that's associated with the actual field itself actually detains enough water, so we're not going to be having an increase in runoff from the entire site.
Anyone else have any questions?
I don't have any.
Yeah.
No
I don't-
question.
Yeah, I don't either. This is Dave. Yeah, I don't.
Well, if there's no further questions, and I don't have any questions, do we have a motion to approve this?
This is Dave Speranzini, and I would make a motion to approve as proposed. Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Was that you, Jean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I lost track of how many people we have here. I think it's any nays?
Barry votes yes.
Josh? Is it aye?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave Speranzini was aye.
Okay, so everybody that's present is voted aye.
Mhm.
Bob is recused on this one, so I think it's 4 ayes and 1 recused. So the motion passes, and for Chris, it passes with the usual stipulations relative to the hay bales and the silt fence. And I think it would still be good to have maybe at the time of initial construction, have somebody from, or yourself or our agent on site for a pre-construction meeting. So I'd like to add that to the notes.
Yep, absolutely, no problem at all.
Okay, that's passed. And Bob, I'll pass the meeting back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, we might keep moving along then. Next time on the agenda, 57 Park Lane is an application for development of a solar park, solar farm. On that, here on the farm application. Chris?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think the microphone was cutting in and out. Are you prepared for me to just give a brief presentation on the project?
I'm ready to listen. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, I'm all set. I can see you.
Okay,
So you can bring something up on a screen if you want.
yeah, I guess let's see. Share content. I apologize. I'm not.
Otherwise, everybody has all their plans in front of them, I hope.
Nope, I just figured it out here. My Mac made me give a couple permissions here. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Think so?
Okay, great. My name is Chris Little. I represent Ecos Energy, who is the applicant for the proposed project here. I have with me also Rodney Dalton, who's an employee of Ecos Energy as well, and he is based out of Killingly, Connecticut. And so I'm going to give a brief just overview and presentation of the project itself. And then if there's any technical questions related to stormwater runoff or any of the design elements, I will likely defer to Rodney on those. What we are proposing is a 999 kilowatt ground mounted photovoltaic solar farm. I mentioned that it's 999 kilowatts because anything over 1 megawatt typically goes in front of the siting council rather than the town. In this case, we're under 1 megawatt. This project will sell the renewable energy credits to United Illuminating, and it'll also generate virtual net metering credits that will be sold to a town in United Illuminating's service territory. The basic structure of these projects, if you're not familiar with them, is a steel and aluminum racking system that's ground mounted. Typically, it's either structurally the piers are driven into the ground. In this case, we're likely going to use a screw-based foundation because of exposed ledge and shallow ledge and throughout the project site. The project will be accessed off of Park Lane up here. Well, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not. Of an existing point, for lack of a better term. And in this location, you'll be able to see that it actually splits two small wetlands. So it's actually not going to be crossing any wetlands. This driveway will be constructed out of crushed aggregate. It will not be a bituminous surface. So there actually won't be any asphalt or concrete in the project other than for some of the equipment pads. In terms of how we're actually going to connect to the grid, we are not proposing to interconnect to United Illuminating's distribution system on Park Lane. We're actually going to be interconnecting further to the east via an underground medium voltage circuit. And you can see that delineated here. Maybe difficult to see at the resolution I have, but you might be able to see it better on your plans. It's going to traverse up through the buffer. This will be trenched and backfilled. Once it's backfilled, there won't be any ongoing impacts. And then it's going to turn downward and it interconnects down on the shopping center, the Amity Shopping Center property. The reason for this is the shopping owner property actually also owns this property in between, and they wanted us to try to stay along the edges of their property rather than bisect it. So I wanted to point out that's the reason for why we're proposing to send this circuit this long and really somewhat unnecessary distance, but it's to appease the property owner so that they will grant us an easement.
How much loss, just out of curiosity, do you get running that distance versus the more direct route?
It depends on, typically we can avoid, since this will be an AC circuit, it won't be DC. We can typically avoid massive losses by sizing the cable large enough, but it'll be a big cable.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the losses will be, but they'd probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1% of the facility's generation, is my guess. A few other details that you can see on the site plan. We do have, we will surround the site with a chain link fence. I did note on the engineer's comments that there was some inconsistencies between what we had noted on the plans versus, I think, the narrative. It would be a 6-foot chain link fence without any type of rampart on top. And then inside the chain link fence, everything would be cleared. The surface will be maintained with natural vegetation. Any sloped areas will be graded and placed with 4 inches of topsoil, and then either riprap installed or some type of matting, prevent any erosion runoff. In terms of the wetland impacts, there are no direct wetland impacts. There are a few areas, you can see the blue hashed areas, the 100-foot buffer zone. The area inside that would be the wetlands. There are some minor areas here that we're kind of encroaching into those buffer areas, as well as with the detention basin that's being proposed, but nothing directly impacting the wetlands. And then over here on the east side also, you can see that we are proposing to install the underground circuit within a portion of the 100-foot setbacks. With that, I don't think I have anything else to add on my just brief presentation here. I'd like to open it up to any questions, and certainly Rodney might chime in to help me answer any questions that the commission may have.
I have one question about the retention basin. Is that because of the slope of the land that's where the water is flowing to, or is this in there for some other purpose of drainage?
I'll let Rodney answer that. I know the answer, but I think he'll speak more eloquently to the
location of the stormwater basin. That is more or less the low point in the cross slope of the property, but we do need this basin in order to meet the DEP stormwater guidelines. We meet water quality volume with this basin. That's why we need to install this basin.
So is that going to be depression, or is there going to be, is there going to be a subsurface in there, or plantings, or is it just going to be water when water flows?
I missed part of that question. I apologize. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, is it just going to be a cutout in the ground, just a depression in the ground, or is it going to be actually engineered and filled with some sort of crushed rock or some other material, or is it going to be planted? How deep is this going to be?
This is strictly a depressed structure. The depth of this, it's not overly deep. You're talking about 4 to 5 feet at its maximum, but you're only talking about 4 feet of actual storage volume, because it will outlet well before it fills up to the 6 feet.
Okay. Well, I guess the concern that I would have is, and what are the odds of this are probably small. With a 6-foot fence, a kid could climb over that and jump into the water and get into trouble. And I'm not sure what's going to prevent any of that.
Well,
I don't know if the water is going to be retained there. I mean, there could be standing water of, as you said, 2 to 3 feet of water, could be for a substantial amount of time. And like a swimming pool, I mean, there is a certain amount of hazard, certainly.
There might be standing water at certain times, but this is designed to slowly drain down to nothing. Certainly during wet times of the year, I'm not saying it's not going to hold a little bit of water, but this is designed to drain down slowly until it is completely empty.
And it's going to drain down into something, or is it just going to?
It's going to infiltrate right into the ground.
Yeah. So you're going to dig down and fill it, or you're just going to just make it a depression and it will infiltrate just based on what's there today?
Correct. That's, we did test holes, and, this is designed to slowly drain down, infiltrate into the ground, of the existing ground that's there.
I'm looking at sheet 3 of your plan versus this presentation here, and it looks like there is an outlet type of flow out of that detention area into the neighboring property. Am I reading that correctly, or is that coming into the detention area from the neighboring property? It looks like based on the contour lines that, the area next to that, this is a sheet, lower than the detention basins, therefore, is the water, property line, the water going on to the town property, or?
The outlet does go towards the property line, but that's exactly where the water currently flows. The water does flow, if you look at the contours to the northeast of the basin, you'll see that they flow right across the property, and that's exactly where they go now, right where that outlet is.
Where's the trail in relation to the solar farm? Is it on this side of the property or the other side?
I can speak to that. There is a trail that runs off of Park Lane. That's right now, we haven't come up with a solution to relocate that, but right now it runs right through the middle of the array. There are no current rights of record for that trail since this is private property. So we haven't yet determined how we're going to address that.
Okay. All right. I was surprised that the site is as flat as it is. But I see the detention basin is, how is stormwater being managed on the rest of the site, given how large an acreage this array is covering? It seems like for how that the basin will function with the rest of the site and prevent neighboring properties from being inundated. Any comments on that?
The basin you see is designed to handle the 5-acre drainage area that is part of the race layout. So the basin is sized to handle the 100-year storm event. So this will handle from a 2-year storm to a 100-year storm event. Our peak rates of runoff are lower for the 100-year storm event than they currently are right now.
But I mean, is this a wooded area right now, and there'll be grassed area later, or?
This is a wooded area right now. Currently, it will be vegetated after. That is correct.
The wooded area being just the retention basin, or the whole area?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Could you repeat that?
You mentioned a wooded area. Is it just the retention basin area, or is the whole area wooded?
More or less the entire site where the array is going is wooded. That's correct, Chris, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
And everything inside the fence line is proposed to be cleared. And you can see it on this drawing is delineated with the green call outs here as the clearing limits.
So that's going to significantly change the drainage from the property, removing all those trees. And
it does change the characteristic. However, keep in mind that we are handling the 100-year storm event with this detention basin. We are reducing the peak rate of runoff for the 100-year storm event.
On the entire property, or it seems like that's just up above? It's just
There's 5 acres associated with this basin.
okay.
That's the drainage area associated with this basin.
everything on that property will drain into that basin?
there's some smaller areas that drain off the property, and they will continue to drain off the property. Chris, can you pan down to the southeast a little bit, please?
Let me
So-
zoom up one level too.
Yeah, so you can see this area in the southeast drains off the property, and that will continue to drain off the property. We wouldn't be able to change that without, massive amounts of earthwork, which we don't like to do for solar projects.
Right, I understand that, but if that's treed today and vegetated today, and that all gets cleared, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it drops drastically as you get down toward the shopping. So,
Has there been any biological survey done on this piece of land as to what's living there today?
There has not.
Is there any intent of doing that?
There hasn't been any request through the planning process that we've gone through to do any of that. So at this time, we are not proposing to do any.
it looks like the end of the array down there where the transmission line is going to be going. I mean, it drops off 20 feet very quickly right at the edge of the array. Isn't that going to create a problem with the runoff from that area?
That will not create a problem. We are putting a wood chip berm and silt fence up along that edge. So once that gets vegetated, there will be no problem at all. And during the construction process, that wood chip berm and silt fence will handle any runoff generated.
Well, also keep in mind the area where it starts to slope off dramatically, obviously, is an area that we avoided intentionally because solar arrays like what we're proposing start to, you'd start to experience some significant challenges installing on a slope of this grade. So this area over here, we still own this property. We're not intending to clear any of these trees. These will actually stay vegetated. And so that'll also absorb some of that stormwater runoff in that area.
Okay, so that fence line is not near your property line then? Is that correct?
That's right. No, it extends out further. And I think if you look, this sheet up number 2 is probably a better depiction here. So you can see the green callouts are for the clearing. Obviously, we clear a little area in here for the underground circuit, but the rest of this and this entire area up here where the wetland is would remain untouched.
Yeah, that looks like it's probably about 3 acres or so, huh?
Yeah, something along those lines. It's about the total acreage of, there's actually 2 parcels here, is about a little over 9. And the array itself is right around 5, if I'm not mistaken, Rodney.
Yes, that's correct.
So the fence line itself is probably something around 4 and, 6 acres. And then, yeah, we probably have about 3 acres over here on the east.
So just getting back to that trail issue for a second. So the land trust hasn't spoken to you about the relocation? Are you still talking to them, or where's that stand?
Well, we haven't, this is ultimately a decision that has to come from our upper management. That trail has no easements of record. So it currently traverses through our property without any rights. And since it's private property, our intent is to either dissolve the trail entirely or try to work with the land trust to relocate it somewhere on the property. But until we get through our site plan approval and through the Inland Wetland Commission, we really don't know what the final site plan is going to look like. So until we have those approvals, we really don't have much to work with in terms of how we're going to potentially relocate that trail.
But the intention is to relocate it or not?
If we can find a solution, yes, that works for both parties, then yes, it is to relocate it. It's just kind of strange. It sort of dead ends here at the end of our property. I mean, the slope on the east is so steep, and then once you get onto the Well-McCarr property and down by the actual shopping center, there's actually like a cliff.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a trail to nowhere.
Mhm. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have two things, but somebody else speak first. I think I heard Jean.
Yes, I'm curious about the process of washing the panels. It mentions on page 6 of your document in the section under operations, item number 2. It says that you have to periodically wash the modules.
Yeah, I think that's just in there as sort of an option if we ever needed to wash the modules. We have over 15 solar arrays in New England, and we've never washed a single one of them because there's so much there's so many rain events that actually they sort of self-clean themselves. But if we did go through a period of drought, or in this case, this project isn't next to any agricultural operations, but in those projects that we have that are maybe near a farm field where during planting or cultivation they kick up a lot of dust, we might need to get in there to clean them. I don't anticipate ever needing to clean these modules unless there was some extreme period of drought.
Okay. I mean, how do you clean them? Just plain water, or you have a chemical mixture?
Yep, plain water. So generally, it's a pretty simple operation for a solar farm of this size. Now, if you're talking about really large solar farms that you see out in the desert that are 50 or 100 megawatts, they might have equipment that they use. But in this case, it would generally be several workers with water backpacks, and they would spray down and then squeegee the panels. It's pretty much as simple as that.
It's worse than my windows. Okay. That was my question.
Okay, the two things I have, and this is relative to our town, is this going to be reviewed by town council? That's the first question. Or does it need to be reviewed by town council? And the second thing is it possible that we can have a biological survey done? I'd like to know what's in there before that gets disturbed of that amount.
I don't know why you would have town council reviewing it, Jack. Are you thinking about that in terms of the trail? Because
I'm thinking more in terms of just general safety. Somebody getting in there.
that's the liability of the property owner.
Okay.
No more, no less than you having a private pool and being required to put up a fence around it. A fence around a pool is 48 inches. They're saying that the fence around here is 6 feet.
Okay.
A few things, just comments that I'd like to make. In the past, when concerns like this come up, we have put 8-foot fence with a 1-foot barbed wire rampart on top. Generally, people don't like those though because they sort of look like a substation or a prison yard. They're not real appealing. We certainly could do something like that here, but then the other side of it too is very often we'll put in a gap on the bottom of the fence, which is referred to as a wildlife friendly fence to allow various species to travel underneath the fence or to get out of the fence if they get trapped in there. And generally, it's not large enough for a child to crawl under, but in certain areas where the slope might undulate, there might be gaps where it would be large enough to crawl under. Generally, the fence is more of just kind of a deterrent to keep people out. If someone wants to get in there, they're going to cut the fence, crawl over it. It's really unavoidable. We have really not had any issues of that happening on any of our farms. We've had some minor theft issues in the past, but generally people don't go inside of these, and everything is safe to the touch. As long as someone's not trying to pry their way into an electrical cabinet. But typically people stay out of this. Now, I do understand there are neighborhood residential homes in the area. We're open to any safety measures that the commission may want us to try to put on the site, but I think generally the risk, given that it's a detention basin or sediment basin, really is a more appropriate term, is probably pretty low. But I certainly understand the concern.
Yeah.
What about a site visit? What are the thoughts on that? To the members.
I don't think I'll learn much. It looks, it's forested and it's going to be grass.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not adverse to a site visit. I mean, we just go separately, but I don't know what's everybody else think.
I'd have to know what I'm looking to discern. I don't see anything particularly controversial.
Yeah, because even Chris Quillo's memo didn't have, it had some issues, but it didn't identify, any real problems. And even with the stormwater, they didn't say it was, not adequate. It was, it just had a couple sections, in the report recommendations, but not a, total redo or anything.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dave. Yeah, they've looked at it. I just seem to have more concerns than they did, but they're the experts, so.
Yeah.
I would remind the commission that we do not have any direct wetland impacts on this site. This is buffer zone activity only. So I mean, please keep that in mind. It's something that should be considered when looking at this.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just that you're clearing 5 acres and there's wetlands around it, so that's really the concern. But you seem to have dealt with most of them. So.
What are the pardon me? What are the trees that are there? Are they big, small? I'm sure they're all second growth, but is anything substantial? Is it all pretty much 3, 4, 6 inch type stuff?
I've walked the site a couple times. I've never really taken note of all the diameter of the trees, but according to a forester I sent over there, he did mention that it was second growth. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of value to the timber, especially when it's reflected in the estimate I got to clear the site. So it's mostly going to be, in fact, right now with the way the mills are operating, there's not a lot of value in any wood right now.
No, I'm not talking about value. I'm concerned more about. I mean, the trees, absorb a lot of water into that from that area, and essentially you're going to be replanting this with all grass type material, or just let it regrow naturally.
Yeah, it'll be a clover like fescue mix that usually will maintain a height of around 2 feet throughout the property. Generally, we don't want it to grow up over the
array.
Yeah. All I can say to that is that we're designing the stormwater measures to comply with the regulations and to manage the stormwater flow. So I think I don't know, Rodney, if you have anything to add to that.
The drainage calculations take that into consideration, the change from wooded to grass for the proposed basin. And this basin is designed to handle the 100-year storm. So all that stuff is taken into consideration in the calculation.
And I guess your gravel drive will serve to help control the flow off the north side of the property. So I guess on that side.
That's correct. And that gravel drive will also help trap and slow some water, and you might get infiltration along that driveway as well. But we just don't model it that way. But you might get some infiltration with that driveway as well.
Yeah.
I have one other question. There was a question in the engineer's report about the area where you're trenching the line that carries the current. Is there a need for erosion control along that elbow there that the pipe has to maneuver?
Yeah.
Yep. Through this area. Yeah, go ahead, Rodney, and you can address that.
When the site gets cleared, we will have a lot of wood chips at our disposal.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So we will use that as a barrier. We'll put a wood chip berm along the excavation, and what the contractor will do as he's digging, he'll put the excavated material on the high side, and if there's any runoff, it'll just go right back into the trench. So, but we will be using wood chip berm along the area, especially in the buffer area. But again, the contractor will excavate material, put it on the high side, and if any reason there's runoff, it'll just go right back into the trench.
Okay. That was hard to see from the little picture here.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, a question for Chris. I presume that as the building and the work goes on along this, there'll be various inspections that'll be done by the town?
Yes,
Okay,
there has to be.
okay, good.
And just
you
to
know,
add to that, we'll do self-inspections too. We do that on a regular basis, especially when we go through a notice of intent and general permits with DEEP. So there'll be self-enforcement on top of city inspections as well.
One thing that wasn't noted, but I know that Chris Little had mentioned, was that when there's the delivery of materials and whatnot, because this does go through a residential area, those would be done in a concentrated way so that there's not a disruption to the residents in the area.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
No, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm good.
Gene, anything?
No, I think I found all my questions. Thank you.
Josh, you all set?
I am.
Okay. All right. Guess I've got to the point where listening and looking, I don't think we really need a site visit. So, but I don't know if it else has a different.
I don't think it's necessary. This is Dave.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm okay.
You're okay, Jack?
Yeah,
I'm good. Yep.
Gene, you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. I agree.
All right, then. Thanks for the presentation and the information.
Thank you for your time.
Do we want to deal with voting on tonight? Is everybody prepared to deal with that, or what's the pleasure?
Yes.
by me, I guess it's okay, because I don't know that what else we were gonna do.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We should vote tonight.
Okay, all right, then do we have a motion to approve the application as presented? I guess the only concern I have is, like I mentioned about the trail, but that's probably not something that, if there's no legal right for it to be there, we probably can't make it a, I would
Right.
appreciate if you would, discuss it with the land trust and see if there's something you could work out. The plans were fairly complete. Chris, what about a bond? What do you think on that?
Was that a question for me or Chris?
Oh, no, I'm
Chris,
Sullivan. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Sullivan.
We
Where's Chris?
can make it subject to whether or not your consulting engineer recommends it. But
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, yeah. Mhm. There's not a whole lot of infrastructure work to be done on it, but it is a big site, so, yeah, why don't we do that?
Well,
We'll just make the approval contingent, subject to consulting engineer's determination of whether a bond is necessary, and if so, what the amount is of the, to be sure that the basin work and other protective measures are in place.
Yeah.
and that it's all reseeded and planted, and we get growth in there to control the water flow that used to be there.
Yeah.
Bob, should it be subject to Chris Quello's recommendations in their May 8th memo?
Yeah. Sounds like they've addressed most of them. A lot of them are correcting inconsistencies between the plans and the narrative.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess we incorporate the memo as far as, responding to the issues raised in the Chris Quello memo. So subject to those items, do we have a motion to approve the application?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Jack. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second this.
Aye.
Is that Josh or Dave?
Either.
Either, okay.
Either one, it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, Josh will do it this time. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have all ayes. Jean?
Aye. Yes, sorry.
No problem. So Dave, Jean, Josh, Jack, and myself.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
For your time.
Still, the process is a little awkward still, but we're getting through it.
I'm getting used to it now here. We're going.
All right, right along. Chris, the Sean Rollins application for the pool, is that still on, or was that decided?
no, that one, I taking care of that one as well as the next pool. With kids not being able to go to summer camp, we're seeing an increase in the number of pools that are getting put in town. So in order to have them put them in before the end of the summer, we're trying to move those along.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
In both cases, they are above ground pools and they are going in existing lawn areas, and they are not having backwash. They're having cartridge filters for the pools, so we're okay that way.
Okay, so 67 Center Road and Pumpkin Patch are both been delegated and dealing, right?
Right.
Okay. Next time on the agenda is 163 Center Road, but there's public hearings been requested on that, correct?
That is correct. They jumped the gun on submitting it, but we know it's gonna get resubmitted by email tomorrow, so we need to schedule a public hearing. It's just a matter of whether you wanna, at the moment, I have no more applications for you for the 20th, so I don't know if you wanna try to scramble and have a public hearing on the 20th, or if we wanna just push this to your regular meeting in July. It's pulling a little tight to get the notices done for the 20th.
Pardon me. How would we do that sort of a meeting?
A public hearing. I checked with town council, and there are two options for how you gather public input. One is to have them try to join WebEx, but what the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance did when they had their public hearings was just to have email comments that were noticed as part of the agenda and part of the legal notice, with a cutoff of, say, 4 o'clock on the day of the hearing. To give, and this would also, if we did this in July, allow a little bit more time for that to happen. Although the structure is basically in place at the moment.
All right, so our July meeting would be when, the 15th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You said the structure's already in place?
This is an after the fact permit. So when the application was submitted, it showed the site plan for 163, the Wepawag going across the front. And I knew the Wepawag was there because we did that crossing of the Wepawag. And then several weeks later, after the building permit had been issued, a neighbor called and raised the question of why a permit hadn't been gotten, because there were wetlands to the west, not on the property itself, but on adjoining neighbors' properties. So I went out and looked at the site. At this point, the foundation had been poured, and there was absolutely no runoff or erosion towards the property line, let alone the wetlands that were on the adjoining property. So I did not issue an order to cease and desist because the foundation at that point was poured. The site work was done, from our standard in a sense. But I told him he needed to submit an after the fact permit. There has been some interaction between the neighbors. And so then we ended up with a petition to have a public hearing.
Sounds like we should be quiet and just listen.
So that's as much as I can tell you at this point.
Other than it's, a permit after the fact. The question I have, what's the subject of the complaint? Other than there wasn't a permit before it was poured.
I have cautioned the petition originators that comments need to be germane solely to the purview of the Wetlands Commission as they relate to wetlands, and not any other issues that have been a concern to them.
Yeah, like it blocks a view or something of that nature.
No, it's nothing. There's other issues, but they're neither town issues that we can regulate, nor are they wetlands issues.
I think your idea, if this is going to go forward, it sounds like the email thing is a pretty good idea.
To me, it's the cleanest way to do it because via email, then we get something that can be distributed, and it's a clear record because it's a written word. I'm far more comfortable having that than hoping that everybody who wants to speak has the ability to do so through WebEx.
Yeah. Can we recommend that the email thing and set it up for the July meeting?
Yeah, I think so. My only concern about the July meeting, though, is that we're supposed to be in Portugal. I'm not sure we're going to go yet, but they've opened up and the line's flying again to get us there. So I won't be there for the 15th if we go. It's probably 50%.
Make sure you can come back.
So I don't know if, I'd be happy to have somebody else handle it, or maybe we could just do it later in June and just get rid of that at that point. But I'm open to, if my schedule shouldn't drive the decision, but I just wanted to throw that out. I wasn't abandoning people.
June is fine by me as long as if Chris thinks there's enough time to do it properly.
But you want,
I
a
am
week.
not here June 24th, but if you wanted to do it July 1st, we could do it then.
that's okay with me. Like I said, but I don't want to change anybody else's schedule around. So.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
fine
good.
with July 1st.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't want to abandon everybody to have to deal with it without me being there. Not that.
No, July 1st is good.
And that would still give, I believe, a reasonable time for anybody who wanted to write comment to get them here and then get them out to you guys.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it'll be a special meeting, so this will be the only thing on the agenda that we could deal with hopefully quickly. So.
Right.
Okay.
It's
All
a
right.
plan.
So we'll deal with that one on July 1. Next time on the is 4 Lions Road, the application for stabilization of banks of the pond. And again, I abandoned everybody then, so I didn't go on the site visit, but I'm sure other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we need a motion for this one. I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I thought it was,
Plan made sense to me, but I wasn't-
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, this is Dave. Yeah, it was fine for what I recall. It's been a while since we were out there, I think, but
Right, but it was not controversial. It,
no.
needed to be done, and it sounded like it was going to be done reasonably well, properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to approve the application for the, the riprap along the banks of the pond?
I so moved.
All
yeah,
right,
go ahead.
go ahead, Josh, you can do it.
I so
Josh?
moved that we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody dissent? Okay, so that's approved. I know we don't need a bond or anything on that kind of thing, Chris, so we could just keep
No.
it usual. All right, next time on the agenda, did we already take care of this one too, Chris, the Bob Bishop thing, the reducing the bond?
I told him that we would act on it formally at the meeting. Because he
Oh.
wasn't quite ready to start yet.
Yeah, this house on Ansonia Road, it's the rear lot house, right, Chris?
No, I believe it's a front lot.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. Let me just think which one it is then.
How much is the current bond?
27,319.
Wow.
And I presume that there was a good reason for that.
This was something that was approved several years ago. And that was a recommendation between Terry and Bob Criscola, if I remember correctly.
Do we have
Have you
any? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you been out to the site, Chris? Is there any work left to be done?
They haven't even started yet.
So why should we reduce the bond?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that,
This was a performance bond that they have to post. And so he's requesting to have the amount that he has to post not be 27,319 because that's a pretty stiff amount.
but it represents a pretty stiff amount of work to be done and replaced, right?
There is work to be done. I can't tell you that we've done residential development with that high a bond before.
Well, how did it get set to begin with?
It was a recommendation between Bob Blythe, not Bob Blythe, sorry, Bob,
Criscola
Bob Criscola and Terry.
and Terry.
And we don't know what they were thinking those years ago.
I can't tell you. This is a developer that we've seen before in town who has done houses, not recently. He did several on Foxton Way. And to the best of my recollection, we never had any issues with him failing to do maintain erosion controls or anything else.
Well, what's a
Would it
typical,
make sense?
Yeah.
I'm a little uncomfortable reducing it from 27 to 5.
yeah,
Would it make sense for you and whomever to go out there and review it, and we'll just go with whatever you say?
yeah, because what's a
Yeah.
typical bond amount? That's,
I'm just looking at it on Google, and this is a lot right near the Ansonia border on Ansonia Road, north of, pretty far up from, right near near Ford Road, basically, on the other side of the street.
Oh, I know that lot. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I'm trying why it was so high, but I don't remember, to be honest with you.
You had a
right now.
site visit there even.
Yes, you did.
I did.
So I
think there was-
believe the wetlands are on the east side. And then the houses would be constructed on the westerly side, but there's no, I'm trying to remember. Let me grab the file real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, it's so wooded. I can't even get inside it on Google Earth. So,
Yeah. It just looks like the forest.
yeah, there's a like a curb cut though. I don't understand that. Let me do an overview. Huh. Oh, great. Oh, there's the pond across the street with that little gazebo in the center of the pond. And I think the runoff goes toward that pond. There were probably some drainage control stuff to prevent it because it drains across the street into the. Trying to get a sky view.
This there's no wetland crossing involved. There was a level spreader up towards the beginning of the driveway and some infiltrators along the driveway for the drainage from the driveway. And then the septic is to the rear of the house.
Does it drain across the street, Chris? Because I was just looking on Google, and there's the pond with that little gazebo in the center of the pond across the street from that.
It drains from the other side of the road to this side, and then from here it feeds down into the wetlands that's along Baldwin Road.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe what we need to do is, why don't we see if Bishop can have his engineer or some engineer just give us an estimate of what the work is that's supposed to be done, and then, I mean, 27 seems like a lot, but I'm sort of reluctant to just blindly reduce it to 5.
yeah, makes
I
sense.
agree. Terry knew something.
Terry and Bob,
So
we have to figure out what they were doing. So
the engineer was Nowakowski, OB, Michelle, and Kane, so I can get a hold of them and ask for him to give an estimate. I can have Jim review it again. And then if you want, I can put that on your special meeting for July 1st.
yeah, why don't you do that? That way we won't hold them up. But,
Good plan.
Okay.
All right, moving right along then. I don't know, this thing on the Amity issue on reconsideration of the stadium field. I'm not involved in that.
So this is where you got an email that I forwarded to you from a town resident requesting that you reconsider whether or not a permit was necessary for the replacement of the stadium field. There was, I think, 6 documents that I put in your packet that they had forwarded.
Yeah.
And then there were 3 more documents that I emailed out to you this morning. I have explained to the residents who have the concern about the material being used on the field that, and as you looked at the map that you saw earlier for the pole vault, the stadium field really isn't in an upland review area in terms of the 100 feet that you normally regulate. Some of the high jump area is, but not the stadium field itself. And the courts, when they have made decisions regarding upland areas, and as I said, looking at that map tonight, stadium really isn't in an upland itself, unless you choose to regulate beyond your 100 feet. The courts have made it clear that there has to be a very clear connection between what's happening in that area that isn't wetlands and the wetlands themselves. And so the residents who have expressed this concern were providing those documents to try to demonstrate to you that there was some direct link. And so that's why you have the documents that you got.
I understand, but I didn't see how it changed anything.
I told them I would refer their information to you and you would make a decision.
Well, personally, I thought we already had made the decision. And I think to a certain extent, there's two things. One, given the substrate that's going to be under, and I'm not saying I'm for artificial turf, but I'm saying in terms of the wetlands and the underlayment that's going to go under that artificial turf, there'll be actually more retention and of the water before it flows into the wetlands. So it'll be more, it'll just infiltrate. More will infiltrate than run off into the wetlands. We won't have issues of fertilizer running into the wetlands. And in all that material that I saw, and I probably missed it, they talked about the chemicals that are in the product, but they don't really talk about how much chemical flows from the product when it gets wet downstream from the product. And given that we have, millions of miles of tire wear on the roads today and all that stuff washes in where it is, I don't think we should be messing with it. I don't see any reason to reopen that or require a permit. But that's my opinion.
Your well-reasoned, rational opinion.
So is that the consensus?
I would agree.
I got Barry and Dave and Jean.
Yeah, I will agree with
Yeah, I'm with
Jack.
Jack. This is
Sure.
Dick.
I agree. I think it's not within our purview.
Okay.
I'm not debating whether
if they have issues, if there's issues, there's a board of selectmen and there's the school board to take it up with.
Actually, I believe it's just the school board, because property is school board property.
Works for me.
Okay, then I'm back in. Moving right along. Enforcement officer report. Chris, anything going on we need to know about?
Other than the 163 center, I am going to be going out to 220 Seymour, our proverbial one that stays there forever.
The parking
I
lot.
noticed they seem to have some chairs out in the backyard where I believe it's supposed to be a vegetated, protected area. So I'm going to go out there. Other than that, it's been, we've been busy but quiet. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
Nobody showed up for the Fitzgerald, the 100 Centered Road?
No, Warren knew that he was supposed to, and I guess he didn't do it. Do you want me to somehow continue that till your July 1st meeting? Because they haven't finished the work that they started.
Yeah, why don't we put that on the July 1st agenda? I saw Terry Kelson's comment, which is a good one too. If you could get that to Warren for him to consider it and whatever they decide to do there, that would be good,
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So no site that we have to
I'm
take care of.
just going to add a comment that, I think widening, I think it does need to be widened. Unfortunately, it's going to have some impact. There's a lot of traffic going in and out of there now, and wider would be better before we have an incident.
Do you all want to just take a drive-by to be a little bit more familiar if you're not before the July 1st meeting?
Yeah, I think that would make sense. If drive by there, take a look. And Terry Calton was pointing out there's something about a spring that used to traverse that area, and perhaps the need for a pipe between each side of the driveway. So just be cognizant of that and see what you notice when you're there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty dry now, but when it gets wet on both sides. So
Yeah.
my dog and I go there every day. So they did get the potholes filled, though.
Okay, so nothing on June 20th then. I had some note on that. Correct?
I was looking at May, so we're moving everything to a special meeting on July 1st.
All right, okay.
Chris, if others come in between now and then, should we still have a June 20th meeting, or do you just want to move everything to a special meeting because we'll be able to set up the agenda a week or so before?
We can move it to the July 1st meeting. I'm sure nobody's going to complain if we do things sooner rather than later.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's with the hope that there won't be another July meeting. It'll just be on the 1st.
Okay.
All right. So we have no formal site inspections. If everyone can just swing by Fitzgerald at some point, that'd be good. We have approval of minutes from so long ago that I'm not sure. Remember what I said. So.
Well, you weren't here at the February meeting. I don't
Right.
think you did the March 14th meeting, so that's why.
We had family disaster that day.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have the February 19th meeting, and it's your packets. I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at those. So.
Yeah, I did. I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean that there's not something there.
Yeah, I didn't see any issues with it either.
Yeah, I was okay. I read them. They're okay.
All right, then we have motion to minutes then?
I'll make a motion
I'll
to.
make a motion. This is the
Okay,
I'll
Jack
second it.
moved, Dave
Oh, wow.
seconded them. Yeah, treated.
yeah.
All in favor?
All right.
Any
Aye.
objections? No, okay, that's fun. And then the site visit meetings for March 14th. Look pretty simple. Looks correct. Any comments?
Nope.
No? Okay, motion to approve those. Does somebody want to make that?
I'll make that motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that's done. All right, Chris, anything else we need to deal with?
No, wasn't it comfortable being home?
Well, I'm in, because I never got a chance to leave, but anyway, but it worked better than I thought it would, so.
Well, at least I didn't have to go to my cell phone.
So July 1st,
This is
same
much better.
time, same station.
May everyone have a camera for the next one.
Okay. No, I'm not
Looking at the pictures.
No,
having one.
maybe we can have the meeting in person.
That would be better still.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
We can spread out in the room. There's plenty of space.
Pua will have to be moving the camera all over the place if we're all spread out, so.
Well,
Man.
it'll give them
Anyway,
something to do. It'll give them something to do.
That's true. Anything else, Chris?
That's it, except for a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Wow.
move to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second
Okay.
the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, guys.
Okay,
Thank
done
you so much.